I am making an updated Gate Guardian deck profile. I've honestly finally managed to get some cards to make the deck a bit more consistent, and I honestly really like how it's currently working, so I figured I'd go ahead and make an update to it. And then I'll make another update in February once they have the new Gate Guardian cards, which I believe are Dark Element and Dark Guardian. But starting off with the monsters, I play 3 copies of Shadow Ghoul of the Labyrinth. Shadow Ghoul of the Labyrinth lets you discard it to then be able to add, I always forget the card's name. Labyrinth Wall Shadow from your deck to your hand. And then, if you control a Labyrinth Wall card, and an attack is declared involving an opponent's monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard to then be able to destroy that opponent's monster. To reconfirm, when an opponent's monster is battling, you can banish this card from your grave while you control a Labyrinth Wall card to destroy that opponent's monster. And next, I play 2 copies of Scareclaw Kashtira. This probably gives away what I've added to the deck, which is Kashtira. But Scareclaw Kashtira has the effect that during the main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, you banish a Kashtira or a Scareclaw card from your hand or graveyard. And then you can only use that effect as Scareclaw Kashtira once per turn. And then it can attack in defense position, and if it does, you apply its defense points for damage. And then lastly, if your Kashtira monster battles an opponent's monster, that your opponent cannot activate that monster's effects until the end of the damage step. Or that monster's effects are negated until the end of the turn. Next, I play 3 copies of Labyrinth Heavy Tank. Labyrinth Heavy Tank has the effect that you can normal summon it without tributing, and then you can take, once per turn, you can take a Gate Guardian piece that is in your deck or banished. I think you can also take from grave too. Let's see, Dreaming is banished in your hand or deck. Okay, no. Unless you take a Kaijin, Suijin, or Song of the Thunder that is in your deck, hand, or banished, and place face up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. And then, if you control a Labyrinth Wall card, you can then destroy 1 card your opponent controls. And if you use this effect, then Heavy Tank cannot attack that for that turn. Or is it for the rest of the turn? Okay, no, it cannot attack the turn it's normal summoned. It can still attack if you use the effect. I remembered it was somewhere in it. Then next, I play 3 copies of the most annoying Kashtira monster that is legal to play, which is 3 copies of Kashtira Fenrir. Fenrir can be special summoned as long as you control no monsters. And then once per turn, you can activate its effect to add a Kashtira monster from your deck to your hand. And then when your opponent activates a monster effect, or this card declares an attack, you can banish 1 card monster your opponent controls face down. And that's it. The main thing though with Fenrir is that it activates on a new chain. So you can't just opponent activates a monster effect, like your opponent you can't just go or chain this card's effect to an IP Masquerena to banish the IP Masquerena. You have to wait for the Masquerena to resolve, and then you can activate Fenrir. I also play 3 copies of Kashtira Unicorn. Unicorn has the same summoning effect as Fenrir, as you can special summon it as long as you don't control any monsters. And then, once per turn, you can add a Kashtira spell from your deck to your hand. And then when your opponent activates a monster effect or it attacks, you can look at your opponent's extra deck and banish a card from it face down. Yeah. And then I play 2 of each of the Gate Guardian pieces of Kazijin, Suijin, and Song of the Thunder. All 3 of these monsters share the same effect of when the opponent's monster declares an attack on them, they can reduce that opponent's monster's attack to 0. And then they can only use that effect once while face up on the field. But you're usually using them to summon your Gate Guardian monsters, so leaving them on field doesn't normally happen unless it's during the opponent's turn because they're floated in or got floated into. And then for the spell cards, I play 3 copies of Soul Absorption. Soul Absorption is a spell card I really like in this deck, as whenever a card or cards are banished, you gain 500 life points per card that's banished. So if it's face up on the field and Paw of Desires is activated, you gain 5,000 life points, which I absolutely love. Because it is 500 per card, right? Okay, yeah. Can't remember if it was 500 or 300. And then I play 3 copies of Sacred Sword of 7 stars. This just lets you banish a level 7 monster from your hand or face-up field. And to then be able to draw 2 cards, you can only activate 1 Sacred Sword of 7 stars per turn. And then next, I play 2 copies of Double Attack Wind and Thunder. This card can only be activated while you control a Gate Guardian monster, but you get to target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy it, and then you can banish it from your grave to add a Suijin, Kazijin, or Sangha of the Thunder that's banished in your graveyard or deck to your hand. Then I play 3 copies of Labyrinth Wall Shadow. Labyrinth Wall Shadow just lets you take a Suijin, Kazijin, or Sangha of the Thunder from your deck, hand, or banished. Place it face up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. Monsters cannot attack the same turn they are summoned if they are level 5 or higher. Or monsters can't attack the same turn they're summoned unless they are level 5 or higher. And then, what was its last effect that I had? At the start of your opponent's battle phase, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls that has less than 1600 attack and destroy it. That effect hardly ever gets used, but I do like mentioning it because every once in a while it does come up and matter, which is actually kind of funny. Because usually when that comes up, it's because the opponent summoned a Zodiac Borbo. They'll go to attack and I'll just kill a Borbo and instantly you don't have to worry about Zeus. And then next I play 3 copies of Kashtira Birth. Kashtira Birth has the effect that you can normal summon level 7 monsters without attributing. So if you're just that 1 piece short from summoning a Gate Guardian monster, this will let you just normal summon it without having to tribute. And then after that, it has the effect that you can special summon 1 of your non-Xyz Kashtira monsters that's banished or in your graveyard. And you can only use that during your main phase. And then its final effect is if your opponent activates a spell card or effect and you control a Kashtira monster, you can target 3 cards of your opponent's graveyard and banish them face down. And you can only use each effect of Kashtira Birth once per turn. Then, next, I play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity lets you banish up to 6 monsters from your extra deck face down, to then excavate the top, or cards on the top of your deck equal to the number of monsters you banished. Add 1 card to your hand, and put the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. You cannot draw cards for the rest of the turn, and then any damage your opponent takes is halved for the rest of the turn. And you can only activate 1 Pot of Prosperity per turn. And lastly, I play 3 copies of Fusion Deployment. Fusion Deployment just lets you reveal a fusion monster from your extra deck, especially summon 1 monster that's mentioned on it from your deck. And I believe this locks you into... Yeah, and then you can't summon anything from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except for fusions. And that is it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. The extra deck is fairly simple, as it's just 5 monsters. 3 copies of Red Ice Flare Metal Dragon. Flare Metal Dragon can't be destroyed, or what was it, targeted or destroyed? No, they just can't be destroyed by card effects while it has materials. And then, whenever your opponent activates a card or effect, they take 500 points of damage. Then I play 3 copies of Gate Guardian of Water and Wind, or Wind and Water. This is just a once per chain, twice per turn spell trap negate. And then if it's destroyed, you can special summon 1 of its pieces that is banished or in your graveyard. Then I play 3 copies of Gate Guardian of Thunder and Wind. Thunder and Wind has the once per turn effect of adding a card from your deck to your hand that mentions Suijin, Kazijin, or Sanga the Thunder. I can't remember how it's worded exactly. You can only use each of its effects once per turn. And then lastly, if it's destroyed, you can special summon a Sanga the Thunder or Kazijin that has banished or in your graveyard. Then I play 3 copies, a Gate Guardian of Water and Thunder. Water and Thunder has the effect that twice per turn, once per chain, you can activate its effect, target one monster your opponent controls, reduce its attack to 0 until the end of the turn. And then when it leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon a Suijin or a Sanga the Thunder that is banished or in your graveyard. And lastly, I play 3 copies of Gate Guardians Combined. Gate Guardians Combined has the effect that up to thrice per turn, if your opponent activates a card or effect that would target a card or cards on you control, you can negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. And then if Gate Guardian Combined, or Gate Guardians Combined leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon a level 11 or lower Gate Guardian monster from your main deck or extra deck. And that is it for the Gate Guardian deck profile. If you have anything if you have any ideas of how you can improve the deck, and ideas for decks like to see face each other, or decks like this to be made in the future, feel free to comment down below, and thank you so much for watching.